Hey guys, it's Brandon. So the vet community really is retarded. We got Dave Philly on YouTube trying to correct me, except he doesn't know what he's talking about either. Uh, Basically, VIN sequences, the primary outer VIN sequence is based on which combustion engine is in the car and based on what the overall model is. So you have a C8 Corvette, and you have the engine that's in that C8 Corvette. Okay. And so basically the LT7 is the overall VIN sequence. Okay. It's just, I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. There's really no point. He says that I gave a bad example comparing the non-Z51 to the Z51. That's the primary perfect example. Once upon a time, the Z51 was a selectable option, and it was within the same allocation. It was just a stingray, and you selected whether or not you wanted Z51 or non-Z51. But then what GM did is they separated those into two allocations. Then they separated Z07 high wing versus non-Z07 high wing into two different allocations. They create different allocations, but just because they're creating different allocations doesn't mean that they're changing VIN sequence. Just because they're changing allocations doesn't mean that it's still not a selectable option. However, when you have a non-Z51 Stingray option now with General Motors, you can't elect for the Z51. You can't check that box. So that's what General Motors is trying to convey to these guys. And instead of these guys understand that it's still the same car, that the all-wheel drive is going to be an option on every single variant of the C8 lineup. They're doing everything in their power to try to erase that fact because I was the one to break that story. So they're all trying to prove me wrong. And they're trying to catch me on technicalities where they're trying to change the verbiage to separate cars. Well, of course they're separate cars. Every fucking car on the planet's a separate car from every other car. So they can't even use the three words cars, allocations, and VIN sequences correct. If Justin Horsepower Obsessed would have released this video and said, these are separate allocations, they belong to the same VIN sequence, but they're separate allocations, I would have some more respect for him. I'd say, okay, good information. But instead, he's trying to overdo it. And he's like, these are completely two different separate cars. And he's trying to insinuate VIN sequence, but he knows he can't say that because he knows I'll be able to prove him wrong. So he wants me to go down this road with him and use the word cars and say they're not separate cars, when technically every two cars driving down the street are separate cars. It's all bullshit, guys. They're trying to trap me on plays, on words. These guys are disgusting. And then we got this Dave Philly guy saying that he's known me since I was young. This guy didn't know me when I was young. I was a very polite kid. Extremely polite. I would never act like this when I was a kid. I have dealt with shit people my entire life. And there comes a point when the shit people who have no remorse to try to ruin you, who try to destroy your YouTube channel, who try to destroy your products that you're trying to sell on Corvette Forum that make the cars better, who are fucking flat out fucking liars, there comes a point where you're going to call people what they are. Dave Philly, you're a piece of shit, just like Justin. Just like Keith Cornett and John Elegant, who are apparently, according to Justin, too stupid to use the word allocation. Apparently, they all use the word cars now. Are these the same cars or separate cars? I can only imagine the GM engineers sitting there in that question and answer. They're like, yeah, they're separate cars. Just like every fucking car in the parking lot's a separate car from every other car in the parking lot. You low IQ pieces of shit. The questions are they the same VIN sequence? The answer is yes, they're the same overall VIN sequence. They possess the same motor. The next question is, are they the same allocation? There they can say no. The third allocation still specifies further on allocations. You say, okay, so if they're going to be separate allocations, is it going to be treated like the high wing, where if you get a ZR1X allocation, you can opt for the lower wing, you can opt for the lower ZR1X by itself, okay, without the ZR1, you don't have to get the ZR1X. If I give you a ZR1X allocation, can I opt for just a regular ZR1? Is it like the high wing where I can go to the lower wing? Or is it like the Z51 and non-Z51, which was the first allocation split General Motors has ever done, when something has the same VIN sequence. They did that back in the middle of 2020 or by 2021. They split that, but it wasn't split in the very beginning of C8 production. But the point is, when you get a non-Z51, you have to get a non-Z51. You can't get a Z51. And when you get a Z51 allocation, you can't get a non-Z51. But they're still both the same fucking overall VIN sequence. They're different submodels. One has the Z51 submodel VIN sequence. The other one doesn't. But they're still the same fucking overall VIN sequence. Just like the ZR1X and the ZR1 is the same VIN sequence. General Motors only needs, okay, so let's put this into simple terms that you guys can maybe understand. And if you guys can't understand this, then my point is proven that you guys have learning disabilities. Dave Philly, you're a fucking dumb fuck. Like, you're a dumb piece of shit. You're already on my wall, screenshotted, you mindless piece of shit. And you're a liar. Basically, let's say that General Motors invents another car, the Zorro. Does General Motors need to disclose two different EX VIN sequences to do the all-wheel drive Zora and the two-wheel drive Zora? The answer is no. It's one VIN sequence for both of them. It's one experimental VIN sequence for both. The VIN sequence that General Motors has been using for the ZR1s, the 1064 car, is the same VIN sequence for the ZR1X. That's it. If you can't understand that, I'm so sorry. Goodbye. You guys are trash.